All right, to introduce the idea of factoring, we're going to look at diamond problems. These are kind of a number puzzle that end up being a great tool for factoring. So how a diamond problem works is you have a number in the top and a number in the bottom, and those are your factors. And you take those two numbers and multiply them to get the number on the right, and you add them to get the number on the left. So again, factors are on top and bottom. To the right, you're going to multiply. To the left, you're going to add. So here's an example. If I have 2 and 4, I multiply 2 times 4 and I get 8. And I add 2 plus 4 and I get 6. So there's an example of how this pattern works. Let's do another one. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 plus 3 is 7. Here's another one. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. Okay, and then we'll keep going to make sure we have the pattern. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 plus 3 is 13. I'm videotaping. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. 2 plus negative 4, negative 2. And then I wanted to look at this row right here so we can look at the impact of negatives. Here we have the same numbers, we're just changing where the negatives are. So positive 1, positive 9, when we multiply it's 9, when we add it's 10. Negative 1 and negative 9, when we multiply it's still positive 9, but when we add it's going to be negative 10. Negative 1 and positive 9, when we multiply we get negative 9, and when we add we get positive 8. Positive 1 and negative 9, when we multiply again we get negative 9, and when we add we get negative 8. So this is where just really being fluent with your positive and negatives is going to be really key to being able to do this skill. Okay, so then we're going to go switch it up a bit. So we get the basic pattern of how this works, and now we want to mix it up. So instead of being given the top and bottom numbers, we're going to be given different pieces and we have to solve it like a puzzle. So here, one of my factors is negative 3. I need to find the other factor that when I multiply, I get negative 3, and when I add, I get negative 2. Well, this is going to be 1, because negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, and negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Here, I have negative 7, negative 3. I'm given 21. When I add these, I get negative 10. Here, I have a number. I need to add something to it to get 18. Well, that's going to be 8, because 10 plus 8 is 18. But now I have to find what the multiple or the product of those numbers is, which would be 80. Here, I'm going to multiply 25 by something to get negative 50. Well, that's going to be negative 2. Negative 2 times 25 is negative 50. When I add these, I get positive 23. Here, 11 plus a number is going to give me 0. Well, that's going to be the opposite of 11, or negative 11. 11 times negative 11 is negative 121. a number plus another number gives me negative 1. So this has to be negative 5. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Something, or 6 plus something gives me negative 2, so this will be negative 8. 6 times negative 8 is negative 48. 3 times something is negative 12. Well, that will be negative 4. So 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. All right, so now this is where it applies to our factoring, and I'll make that connection for you in a moment. But this is where it gets a little more challenging, but also more helpful when we're actually factoring quadratics. I need to find my factors. I'm not given either factor this time. So what are two numbers that multiply to make 4 and add to make 5? Well, I like to think about the factors because there's fewer factors usually than there are possibilities for the addition. So my factors of 4, I could do 4 and 1, or I could do 2 times 2. So either of these are going to work to give me 4, but which one will also add to give me 5? Well, I can see that it's 4 and 1. So 4 and 1 are my factors. Here I have two factors that are going to multiply to make 99 and add to make 100. Well, I'm noticing that 99 is only 1 away from 100. So 99 times 1 is 99, and 99 plus 1 is 100. Here, I need factors of negative 12 that are going to make positive 4. This gets a little more difficult with the positives and negatives. But if I just think of my factors of 12, I have 12 and 1, 6 and 2, or 3 and 4. Those are my choices. Now, I know because this is negative that one of these numbers is going to be negative, which means it's really we're looking at the difference between these. So I want to find the pair of numbers that's 4 apart, and that would be this one. And then I know one of these has to be negative, and I want my sum to be negative or positive 4. So it's going to be positive 6 and negative 2. Positive 6 times negative 2 is going to get me a negative 12, and positive 6 plus negative 2 is positive 4. Let's write that out so we can see it. 6 times negative 2 equals negative 12, and 6 plus negative 2 equals positive 4. Here I have two numbers that are going to multiply to make a positive number and add to make a negative number. Well, if we think about our possibilities, we know that a positive times a positive equals a positive, and also a negative times a negative equals a positive. In order for this number to be negative, we're going to have to go with this situation. Oh, I'm off the screen. So both of these numbers we know are going to be negative, and then we find the sum. Well, this is 9 and 1. Negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9, and negative 9 times plus negative 1 is negative 10. Just going to do one more example, I think. Here we have another one with the 0. So when we have 0 and we have a perfect square, It's always helpful to know your perfect squares. Then we know that these are going to be the same number, but one of them will be positive and one will be negative. Positive 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Positive 5 times, or plus negative 5 is 0. Here, this is positive 5 and positive 5 because we're still multiplying to make 25, but now they're both positive, so we're adding to make 10. Here, it'll be negative 5 and negative 5. Still multiplying to make positive 25, so they have the same sign, but we're adding to make negative 10.